Alright, 2005 Honda Element. This one said that a customer was driving on the highway and it stalled on him and the battery light came on. So I checked the charging system. Alternator's not charging. I checked the main cable, right? And then the fused, the wire that has a fuse on it to make sure that there's power there. And other than that, I am charging the battery. So right now it's a good time to inspect your belt, because on your Hondas with this kind of tensioner, let me see if I can show you. There is an arrow right there, and then there's a line, right? So as you can see, that line has gone past that arrow, meaning that your belt has slightly stretched a bit. So it's a good time to replace your belt while you're replacing this alternator. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this belt off, right? We're going to move this power steering pump, move it out of the way. We're going to remove this coolant bottle that's in the way, and then right beneath it is your alternator. It's going to be a bolt on top and then 2 bolts on the bottom, and then we're going to remove that power cable connector, and it should come straight up. Alright, the battery is finished charging and it's tested good, so that's good. And I'm going to disconnect the negative terminal before I start taking the alternator out. Alright, so when you're removing the belt, what I use is I use a 14mm wrench, and I double wrench it. So I just grab a second 14mm and do the double wrench, and that way you don't get stuck on this engine mount when you're releasing the belt. That's one thing, and you're able to remove it after. Right, so that's how I get the belt off with the tensioner. And if you're saving the belt, you can attach it with a bungee cord. That way you don't have to reroute the belt again, and just hang it there. But if you're replacing it, make sure you remember the belt routing. But I think I've done enough of this without having to draw it out, because it just goes around the crank, around the bottom of that tensioner, around the power steering pump, around the alternator, down at the idler pulley, and around the AC compressor, and back to the crank. So yeah. So what I'm going to do next is remove this power steering pump, and then this coolant reservoir. And this power steering pump is only held in by 1 bolt, right there, right? And then there's another bolt right underneath the power steering pump, and I can just move it out of the way, right? And then then get this coolant reservoir. I think it's just attached by 1 bolt right on the top, and then it's just slotted into a groove on the bottom and just comes straight up. Alright, so the new alternator is here, or reman. It's an AC Delco. It looks a lot better than a lot of the remanufacturers, but remanufactured for General Motors, but for a Honda. Alright, got the power steering pump out of the way. I just bungee cord it so it doesn't fall back down, and the 2 bolts that hold that power steering pump, those are 16 foot-pounds, and then also the 3 bolts that hold the alternator is also 16 foot-pounds. So the next thing I'm probably going to do is remove this washer bottle out of the way, and it's held in by that 1 bolt up here, and I think it's just slotted at the bottom that holds the bottom in place. So you just yank it through the top, and then just disconnect your connector and your battery positive cable, and maybe disconnect this PCB so you got like a little bit extra room to get that alternator out. Alright, so that washer bottle, it's just slotted into that groove right there, and it comes straight out. So now you got plenty of space. So now you just got the 12mm here, and then 2 12mm on the bottom. You're not going to be able to see it, but you can feel it. Just go by feel, and once you crack it loose, thread it out by hand, and this alternator should be able to come out through the top. So pretty much this whole job just takes a 14mm wrench to take the tensioner off, your 10mm for that 1 bolt on the top of the washer bottle, and then your 12mm for your alternator and your power steering pump. So you don't need many tools to work on a Honda. Alright, so taking this PCV hose makes a really big difference, because you just barely clear it and you can get it right out. It just that PCV hose is like makes the world of difference of getting that alternator out, and it comes out easy. With it in, you're going to be struggling. So once you are about to put the new alternator in, make sure you transfer this bracket off. This is just for the positive cable and the connector harness that clips into there. Yeah, now the alternator is out. Everything's just reverse order. Just remember the torque specs of the power steering pump and the alternator, which is 16 foot-pounds when you're putting it all back together. Actually, the other day we had an alternator. It went like nuclear, and it melted the power cable, connector, and also the radiator fan. It was pretty crazy. And yeah, that's it. Hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. And if you have an element, good luck to you guys on replacing your alternator. Right, so once the alternator is in and put everything back together, start it up. Make sure that battery light stays off, right? But sometimes with remanufactured alternators, yeah, you still have the battery light on, but the alternator is charging. So yeah, now just make sure it's actually charging with. Oh yeah, now it's charging at over 14 volts. So yeah, everything's all good.